Embarkation Day is one of the most chaotic and also most fun days of your entire cruise, but most people waste a lot of it. We're going to talk about how not to. Hey there, adventurers. Welcome to Let's Just Go podcast. I'm Kayla, and today we're talking about Cruise Embarkation Day. If you've never been on a cruise, or maybe you have, Embarkation Day is a little overwhelming. It's a lot of things happening all at once. There are very specific things that you could be doing to make sure that you're making the most of your time. And it's just confusing if you've never been on a cruise before. I will say before we get into this, it does vary from cruise line to cruise line what Embarkation Day is going to look like. I'm going to give some sort of general overview of what things look like across the board, but keep in mind that the specific cruise line that you travel on may look different than what we're talking about. So, what happens on Embarkation Day? You need to get to the port. You're checking in, you're getting onto the ship, you have your muster drill, and then there's a sail away. Those are basically like the steps in order of what's happening. It's very overwhelming the first time you do it because there's so many things happening. It feels like you're rushing from place to place, but then once you've done it once, it gets a lot easier because you know what you're in for. And I will say my one caveat to this is just because you've done Embarkation Day on one cruise line doesn't mean it's going to go the same way on another. Because I have been on 4 different cruise lines and Embarkation Day has been different on every single one. So keep that in mind. It is a little chaotic. Everyone is really excited. And it's emotional. For people who've never been on a cruise before, it's really exciting. For people who've been on the cruise previously, they just know exactly where they want to go. It's a lot. Again, lots of moving pieces, but it will vary from cruise line to cruise line. So keep that in mind. For example, Disney makes a big to-do about you getting on the ship. Not every cruise line does that. But the most important part is obviously getting to the ship. Your arrival time is usually selected long before you get there. It's not a sort of show up and get on. You will pick a specific time because keep in mind there are thousands of people getting on this ship the same time. Everyone's wanting to leave the same time that you're wanting to leave, and they have to have an organized process. So for some cruise lines, there's a specific date and time that you pick your arrival. For some cruise lines, it is assigned for you. There are also caveats to arriving earlier or later, depending on things. So you will receive a port arrival time. That port arrival time does not necessarily mean that's the time that you are actually going to get on the ship. That just means that's what time you can show up. Because getting on a ship is very similar to going to the airport. You're going to go through essentially TSA, right? You've got security that you're going through with your bags. You're dropping off your big bags to a porter. So that's the person that's going to make sure that your bags make it to your room on the ship. You're going to have your documentation checked. So that may be your passport, a birth certificate. Depending on, again, the cruise line, there's specifics, but they're going to make sure that you have the necessary documentation to prove that you can be on the ship. And then you're going to sit in what feels like a gate at a terminal at the airport until they call your number, and then you can get on the ship from there. So the time you arrive at the port is not necessarily the time you are getting on the ship. So if you have a noon port arrival time, you're probably going to be getting on the ship closer to 1. Because you have to go through all of these steps. And it takes some time and you're constantly moving. It's just line after line after line. And then you get on the ship. So if you're too early, they're not even going to let you come in. Don't show up too early. Some cruise lines will literally turn you away and say, no, you need to come back. It's not time yet. If you're too late, you're rushing through everything. You're missing the best parts of Embarkation Day because a lot of things end around the same time that your rooms become available or a little bit after that, and you want to make sure you have time before the sail away party to check things out. I don't think that you necessarily need to have the earliest port arrival time, but I do think that it's better to be there with an earlier arrival time than a later one. If you are getting to the port via organized transportation from the cruise line, that will typically get you on a little earlier. If you are coming in parking, you're going to need to figure out how to park, where you need to go. A lot of times you will drop off all of your luggage with the porter before you park. If you're getting dropped off via rideshare, taxi, a friend, whatever that may look like, they're just going to follow specific signs to drop you off. But keep in mind that, like I said, it's sort of like checking your bags on an airplane. You're going to give your luggage to the porters. They're going to make sure it gets on the ship. But you want to keep things that you need with you. So keep a backpack or a small duffel bag, whatever that looks like for you, like what you would carry as like a personal item or maybe a carry-on on an airplane. Keep all your important stuff there. So make sure your passport or whatever documentation you have is there. Make sure you have any medications that you might need. If you're wanting to hop in the pool the second you get on the ship, make sure you have your bathing suit in that bag. Let's say that maybe you want to just like find a quiet spot and read a book. Make sure your book's in the bag. Just the things, again, that you would take on the airplane are the things that you're going to want to make sure you take with you onto the ship and that you don't put them in your luggage, because you don't know when you're going to see that luggage again. It will be before the end of the day, but it varies from cruise line to cruise line and like the specific people working when you're actually going to see those bags. So I had a situation on my last cruise actually where the bag that I gave to the porter didn't show up for a while. Like I mentioned it to the room steward and they had to go like find it. Thankfully, I didn't need to like change for dinner or anything like that. But if you are wanting to have a change of clothes for dinner, any of those types of things, I would highly suggest putting them in to that bag that you're going to bring on the ship with you. So like I'm one of those people, like my toothbrush, anything I need to like freshen up is going to come with me onto the ship. Also, if you are planning on bringing your own alcohol onto the ship, every cruise line has different rules about what kind of alcohol you can bring and how much. You will typically need to carry that on with you versus giving it to the porter to send through. They will take it and give it back to you at the end of the cruise if you do it that way. One of the more important things to remember at Embarkation Day is come hungry, because the one thing that will absolutely be open is someplace to eat, and you're paying for it, so you might as well have it. I will say the caveat here is that depending on what time of day you are arriving to the port, make sure you have a snack. There's not going to be really anything for you before you get on the ship, unless you're traveling in like a VIP or concierge room. I would say make your priority having that meal. A lot of times it's going to be the buffet or the like grab and go stuff that's going to be available, but there's also typically at least one sit down restaurant open for Embarkation Day lunch. And I would suggest doing the sit down meal, but that's just me. Everyone and their mother is going to be doing the grab and go stuff. It's going to be very crowded and overwhelming. And I like to be able to just like sit down and have someone bring me things, especially after spending the time like going through all the lines and getting all my bags checked and showing my passport to 10 different people. And, you know, it's a lot. And so I personally would rather sit down for lunch. You don't have to do that, but I will say that typically the menu will be different at that embarkation lunch at those table service restaurants than it will be other days for lunch. Also, if you think that your room is going to be ready as soon as you get on the ship, you are poorly mistaken. It's like getting to a hotel before check-in time. They might have a room for you, but probably not. So something to keep in mind with cruise lines is that they are turning over these ships on the same day. So if you are getting on this ship on Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, people got off. And then they had to turn over the whole entire ship. So that means stripping all of the sheets, completely thoroughly cleaning your cabin, and getting it ready for you before you arrive. So that is why when you get on the ship, usually the hallways to the rooms are actually barricaded, like they're closed, the doors. You can't go down those hallways until a specific time. Once that time hits, you can go to your room. You will typically find your key cards there, like at the room itself, or depending on the cruise line you're on, like with Virgin Voyages, they give you a wristband, and that wristband opens your room when the time is ready. So do not expect that your room is going to immediately be ready. It can feel a little overwhelming because you want to like put your stuff down, but that's again why I like to have the table service meal, because I can like take my time having the meal, sitting down with all of my things. I'm not in a busy sort of cafeteria feeling place where people are like watching like a hawk to grab a table. Like I can just take my time, which is really nice. This is going to be the most chaotic time on the ship, more than likely, because everyone is coming in. There's a decent amount of the ship that is still being turned over. So all of those cabins. So everyone's out in the general population areas, which means that it feels like there's so many more people because no one has access to their rooms yet. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but you can usually look at the itinerary of things that are going on for the day. So there is usually going to be a paper version of that somewhere. If you aren't the kind of person that likes to be on your phone, go to guest services, wherever that may be on the ship. It's typically going to be in the middle of the ship. So in a like lower floor in the middle is usually where you're going to find it. They will have sort of a rundown of all the things going on for the day. A lot of cruise lines also have an app that you can download and access from their Wi-Fi that'll show you all of the things going on for the day. And this is going to be the perfect time if you have specialty dining that you want to take care of that you maybe didn't before, if there are shows that you want to see, if there are excursions that you want to book that you haven't yet. These are all great things to take care of right now as you're getting on. And there are usually discounts at the spa if you go on embarkation day. Now, keep in mind, if you're going to the spa on embarkation day, they can be a little pushy. They really want you to book things, but they're also going to show you what exactly the spa looks like. They're going to give you a rundown of the services that they offer. And sometimes it's actually cheaper to book something that first day than it is to do it before the cruise or once you're a couple of days in. This is a great time to be doing all of these things. So on Disney Cruise Line, if you're wanting to adjust your rotational dining or you're wanting to switch the timing, maybe you're wanting to book some of the adults only dining, this is the perfect time to do that. On other cruise lines, you have to book the shows. So you may need to go find someone and say, hey, I really want to see this specific show. Is there availability? Or there may be specific classes that you're wanting to take, things like that. This is a great time to do all of that. So other things to do while you're waiting for your room to be ready. Wander the ship. Just walk around. Get a feel for where things are. Typically on every staircase and by elevators, there's going to be a map that shows you like which direction to head and what things are in what area. Walk around, see where things are. If there's something that's of interest to you, look and see where it is. Oh, there's a kids club. Where's the kids club? This is going to be a time on Disney Cruise Line when there's actually an open house at the kids club, so the adults can go walk and see what it all looks like, get the kids sort of acclimated to it with the parents with them, get the kids registered. All of that can happen on embarkation day before, again, rooms are available. If there is something that is of importance to you, if you need to know where the pool is, go find it. If you're really interested in the shows, figure out where the theater is. You want to make sure if there's a specific restaurant that you're really excited about, find that, because it's going to be easier for you to navigate the sooner you know where those things are, especially once you figure out where your room is. And now you're like, okay, well, my room is on deck 7. And so I know that to get to the theater, I actually need to go to the other side of the ship and then down 2 floors. And that's where the theater is. Like those are the types of things. Figuring out your best path to get places is going to be really beneficial for you throughout the rest of your trip. The other thing that first-time cruisers especially don't realize is that there is a muster drill. So this is mandatory. You must participate. And depending on the cruise line is where and how you participate. So for Virgin Voyages, I know that it's going to be on your room TV. Once you're in the room, there's going to be a video about the muster drill and you just have to watch it. If you are on Disney Cruise Line, you actually have a specific location that you need to go to, and it'll tell you in your room where specifically you're going for that muster drill. And if you don't show up, they will hunt you down and make sure that it's been acknowledged that you understand what needs to happen. So muster drill is essentially telling you if there is an emergency, the steps that you are going to take. So again, think of this like going on a flight. And when you're on that flight, they say, okay, here's how to do your seatbelts, and here's the oxygen masks, and here's the life jackets. It's all of that, but for being on water instead of being in the air. This is really important, especially if it's your first time on a cruise. You need to know where you're going, how you're getting there, what you're taking with you, if there should be an emergency. This is something that absolutely is mandatory. And if there is in-person requirements for doing the muster drill, they will be taking attendance. So let's talk about what things are going to go in your carry-on. I know we talked about it a little bit. There are certain things you should absolutely not put in your checked bag. Medications, travel documents, anything valuable. If you are bringing a computer or electronics, I would say keep those in your carry-on bag. If you want to have a change of clothes, if you're wanting to bring your bathing suit, maybe you've got specific snacks for your kids because you know that there are certain things that are the only thing that they'll eat. Have those in your carry-on. And really just like anything that you think you're going to need before your room is ready. So if you plan on going out on the pool deck, I would say put sunscreen in that bag. If you are wanting to, again, find a quiet place to read a book, make sure your book's in that bag. If you're like, oh, I'm going to knock out some work on the Wi-Fi, make sure you have a charger for your computer or your tablet, whatever it is that you're bringing with you. Those are all the things that you want to have in your carry-on and not in your checked luggage. I know I talked about this before. Disney Cruise Line, their embarkation is very much an experience. So when you get on the ship, they will ask what your family or travel party's name is, and they will then announce you. And there will typically be characters sort of in the general vicinity waving and things, which is really cute. It's really exciting. A lot of people like to record it as they walk in. Bigger ships, not like that at all. You're just getting on the ship and then it's sort of a free-for-all. If you're going on a smaller like luxury line, it's going to be way smoother, not at all as overwhelming, but it's also going to be a much smaller ship, so there won't be as many people. So that's just something to keep in mind. But your travel advisor can definitely help you with having a good understanding of what to expect on embarkation day. It is overwhelming, especially if it's your first time cruising or your first time on that specific ship. And at the end of the day, your travel advisor is there to help you with all of this and make sure that you have a good understanding of what specific things you're going to want to have with you when you travel. It isn't complicated per se, but it does help to know what you're getting yourself into. If you're planning a cruise and you want to make sure that you're set up for success, reach out to me. I'd love to help you plan it. I personally really love cruising, and I think that embarkation day can be extremely chaotic, but like in the best possible way, because everyone's just so excited. It's like the anticipation, it's finally here and you're on the ship and you get to explore, and there's just something about it. Feels like it's like, okay, I'm officially on vacation. This is it. I'm here. Let my worries and the real world melt away. I do really enjoy cruising, especially because you get to see different destinations and you don't have to unpack a bunch of times. And also keep in mind that all of this is about ocean cruising. River cruising is a completely different experience. This is getting on a big ocean liner that's going to take you into the sea versus a river cruise, which is going to take you on a river. Anyways, if you're interested in learning more about cruising, definitely reach out to me. I would love to help you plan your next trip. And until next time, let's just go.